Cheesies, Patrick here. Mother and I are so excited because the great Jim Colucci, author of the Golden Girls tome, Golden Girls Forever, came back into the studio this week and sat down with us for a fabulous, hilarious interview. This time, he tells us all about his stories of meeting and interviewing Betty White and Rue McLanahan, and then we do a whole bunch of listener questions. It was so much fun. Jim is just the most fabulous guy in the entire world. If you don't have a copy of Golden Girls Forever, I insist that you run right out and get one today. And that's all, Cheesies. Enjoy this interview, and I'll say a quick goodbye on the way out. Mother, Jim is back in the studio with us.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, I'm so happy to be with you guys.
Anybody who is looking at videos of this, you're going to see Jen and I sharing a microphone looking completely insane. I'm very in your space.
This is actually Papa's dream, as you all know, for me to be in bed with him.
Yeah, we're snuggling.
This is the closest we're ever going to get.
You know, Patrick,
now.
you came up with some excuse why you had to do this.
I mean, our mics don't work. We only have two microphones now.
Jennifer, blink twice if you're in trouble, or call HR or something. If you want me to call HR, okay. Oh, with those lashes, do it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, you're back. It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you guys.
Thank you for being here.
I'm so happy to. This is a highlight of my trip back east.
Oh my God. Well, you promised that you were going to tell us the stories of your interviews with Rue and Betty.
But first, I should ask you how your times with them went, because here I put my foot in my mouth last time and said my time with Bea and that it was pretty good and that she melted in my arms at the end and it was all good. And then Patrick's like, it was one of the worst things that ever happened to me. And then I go to your show and I hear how bad it was.
Oh my God. I never met either one of them. I never met Betty. Did you?
I met Rue McLanahan when I was doing Forbidden Broadway in 2005. She was doing a Madame Morrible.
Yes.
In Wicked, and she came to see Forbidden Broadway, and it was lovely. I have a picture with her.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I only have one Rue story, which is from a friend who was in Wicked with her, who said she was an absolute nightmare. Said that she was like really, really mean to him. But by that point, she was like an aged woman, and she had earned her stripes. I feel like she gets to be mean if she wants to be.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
She was cranky with me, but it was my fault.
Well, okay, take us from the beginning.
Okay. So Rue I did after Betty and Bea, because I had spent a spring in LA where I had, a hotel. My husband was doing a game show, and so we had time there. And so I made sure I did my LA reporting.
Your husband
first.
was doing a game show?
Yeah, he
What
was
the
a
game show?
panelist on I've Got a Secret that aired on Game Show Network. It was
Get it, Frank?
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah,
How
it
long
was
did that
fun.
run?
It only ran for like whatever the trial run was, like 6 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. It was really fun.
What
really
a
fun
dream
game show.
gig.
Yeah. And so it was perfectly timed, because it was just as I was thinking I should be reporting this book on the Golden Girls. And then it's like, hey, you want to spend 3 months in LA? Yes. So I did. I made sure I got Betty and Bea and writers and whatever. So I knew I would save Rue till I was back in New York, because she lived in New York. And so I had already done Betty and Bea. And we set it up that we'd be going to her apartment. It turned out that all three of them, Betty, Bea, and Rue, we ended up doing in their homes, which wasn't always the case. I often took people out to lunch for interviews, but they all wanted to do it in their homes. And I piggybacked mine on top of the Archive of American Television, which is now called The Interviews. It's something that the TV Academy does. And I've done now like a dozen of them, where you interview a celebrity about everything they've ever done, literally from the moment they were born till breakfast this morning.
Oh, wow.
And it's exhausting for everyone involved, because you're talking about everything. And we tell all the interviewees, don't book anything else that day. This is going to go 5 or 6 hours. And back in the beginning of it, we were using specific tape formats that only could go a half hour at a time. So we'd just get into it, and then we'd get a tap on the shoulder. The tape's running out. We have to switch. And even that would take time, extra time.
Nightmare.
And so these older people would get exhausted by the end, and they'd start getting cranky. And so keep that in mind. So we arranged that we would do this interview, and I would be the one to do the interview for Rue, so that I would get some of my Golden Girls stuff. However, these archive interviews were about the person's whole life, and I was afraid that I could spend a whole day on Golden Girls alone, and I was only going to get like maybe 10 or 20 minutes worth of Golden Girls in this other interview. So what can I do? This was where we all were dumb. We said, well, what we'll do is just during the tape breaks, when they're switching the tape out, and it takes like 10 minutes, and Rue's getting her makeup touched up or whatever, throw Golden Girls questions at her then.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So I did do that, but that's giving Rue absolutely no breaks. And so
How old is she at this point?
this was 2006. She was born in 1934, so 72.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah.
So 3 years older than I am now.
Yes.
Got
yes,
it.
And
Got
younger
it.
than me
Check.
now. Yes. Yes. But so we knew, I was like, this is a bad plan. And sure enough, it was a bad plan. But I have to tell you, I show up at her apartment right on time, and I'm the first one there. All the camera crew and the people from the archive are not there yet. And Rue answers the door in a bathrobe, fresh out of the shower, that is not completely cinched.
Yes.
It's kind of falling open. And I was just like, oh my God, this is like showing up at Blanche's house.
Yeah,
This is incredible.
for
And,
real,
being
for
an
real.
actor, Jennifer, I think you lose a lot of that sense of modesty because you have to be naked in front of people all the time, like just doing quick changes backstage or whatever. And I don't think actors have that same feeling like, uh-oh, my robe's falling open, that like a lot of us would.
If it's an accident, for sure.
It was an accident.
Yeah, right. So you just...
It was an accident, but I don't think she was as conscious of it as, like, if I answered
my breasts are out.
Yeah. If I answered the door in a bathrobe, I would be like, like this.
Right.
But I don't think actors are like that.
I one time went out to get the newspaper at 6 a.m. I literally opened my apartment door wearing just like a t-shirt like this and a pair of like boxer briefs, thinking it's 6 a.m. Who's going to be out? And as I'm picking it up, I'm like, good morning, Adrian. Like my neighbor who was like going out to walk his dog, who's now seen me in my underpants.
Yeah. Oh, I've done worse than that. Like, because I'm too lazy sometimes to find the underpants. So I just open the door and then I'm like, pray no one's there. But still, I would be self-conscious. So I sit down and eventually the camera crew comes and Rue gets in hair and makeup and all that. And she picks an angle to shoot her in her home because this is video. So I think it was very telling and very sweet. Her son is an artist and she wanted his artwork behind her. And there was like an alcove that had his works on the wall. So we aimed everything that way.
That's nice.
And a video shoot, for some reason, I'm not a tech person, so I always marvel at this. Why does it take so freaking long to set up a video shot?
Totally.
You think, okay, point the camera, put her in a chair. I mean, like an hour later, we're ready to go. And I'm like, how did that take an hour? Because it's like, we got to move the chair a little bit this way. Oh, the flowers behind her.
You just saw me adjust these cameras for 15 minutes before we started. Yeah.
Adjust the camera. Now the flowers that way. If you adjust them, oh my God. Like I'm a Virgo and I'm not that anal.
Yeah.
So everything just is taking such a long time. And so we finally sit down and we're doing the interview. And the way these interviews work, as I said, it's about everything in their whole career. And so they give me, as the interviewer, all the questions they want answered. It doesn't mean you can't go off script and follow up on something and make it conversational, but they have a wish list and they're phrased as questions. And this list is single-spaced, every page for like at least 10 pages. And so this is hundreds of questions. And you can't get through hundreds of questions even when you spend 5 hours.
Yeah.
And so as the interviewer, you have to do a lot of multitasking where you have to be keeping eye contact and listening to them and realizing, okay, do I follow up like off list, or do I go to the next thing on the list, or do I have to skip the next thing on the
What do you
list?
think I'm doing right?
Right. Exactly. And so, part of me is like, Rue, and then I'm like, cross that one off. We're not going to get to it. Oh, she kind of answered that. Cross that one off. Okay, go back to this one. And so, that's a lot. And so you're not the best audience for the person. Now, also realize that in the shot, they set it up so that we're knee to knee. We're not even as far apart as we are now.
So it's
and so
uncomfortable.
her face is right here. And I'm like, you don't want to ignore somebody who's sitting that close to you, and it's kind of uncomfortable. And so with all that going on, I start realizing we're really falling behind. And not only that, I am asking her questions during tape breaks, and she's rolling her eyes like, oh my God, when is he going to leave me alone? And I start to do a real novice thing, which is my own fault. And first of all, I'm also kind of sniveling. I'm like, I miss McLanahan. I'm so sorry, but I should have just been more real with her. I did the same thing with Bea.
Yes,
I know the same thing, and Bea hated me for it. So I'm kind of being over apologetic, but I'm also doing the thing where I'm like, maybe if I talk faster, I can get more out of her. And maybe if I just combine these 3 questions. Okay, they want to know about this TV movie, and this TV movie. What if I ask them about it all in the same question? And so I start going like, okay, when you were on the Love Boat, you did these 3 episodes, and one was with Dabney Coleman, one was with someone, and then you did this TV movie, and you did it for Lifetime. And I start talking like I'm in a contest.
Yeah.
And you can see I always say there's a moment. I remember being on a ride in an amusement park one time, and there's a moment in the ride where your head just kind of snaps back and you realize, oh, I'm not going to be able to get my bearings anymore. And like I used to know up and down, and I'm just going to have to ride it out and let my head roll like this because I just can't tell why. I saw that happen as I'm asking her questions.
Yeah.
I just saw the moment where her head went. I was like, uh-oh. And she started firing back like, if you'd just stop talking and let me answer the question. And I'm like, oh no, I've pissed off Blanche. My whole idea was that I wanted her to love me and I wanted to get all this information out of her and whatever. And I had pissed her off. So she was right. And if you watch that tape, You can see the moment where her head snaps back because it's available. You can watch it on the internet. The whole interview.
God.
You can see the moment where she starts getting testy with me and where I'm probably not going to get good stuff out of her during the breaks because she's like, okay, kid, leave me alone. I did get stuff out of her later. We talked by phone. She certainly made good and gave me great stuff.
Like, if only they knew what this book would become, that it would become what's the word?
Bible.
Yeah, the literal Bible that never existed of the Golden Girls.
Well, thank you. And I'm always hopeful that a book I write is going to be that because it's part of the approach that I take in recruiting the actors. I say, look, not a lot of people are going to have as much time or devote as much time as I am to this. And the show's only getting older. I mean, at that time, we didn't know the show would keep growing like it has. I mean, who did? But for most shows, like say The Love Boat that I'm just writing about, the show's only getting older. Who else is going to come to you and say, I want to spend this much time with you and I'm going to do it with everybody and 500 people and I'm going to put out this big book? It's not going to happen. Probably, again, it may be somebody else will do it. So if this is the official record of the show that is your legacy, donate the time.
Totally.
Give the time.
That's a good
Give the
pitch.
seriousness to it.
As a follow-up, very quickly, are you going to make a pilgrimage to Mazatlan and Puerto Vallarta?
I'm trying to,
Okay.
yes. Because, I've been on a princess cruise, but I've never been on a Mexican princess cruise. And I want to go to those places. Puerto Vallarta, I don't know if they stop anymore. I think it's gotten dangerous.
Okay.
But they do stop at some of those other towns.
Those were like the popular ones, I remember.
Yes, Mazatlan, Acapulco. Oh, no, Acapulco's the one they don't stop. Puerto's not. Puerto's the gay one. I should have realized
I was
that.
just there. I'm like, it's
No,
so gay. It's
no,
not dangerous.
Sorry, it's not that. That's the gay one, not the dangerous one. Acapulco's the more dangerous one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Our apologies to Acapulco.
Yeah, no, apologies, Acapulco and Puerto Vallarta. Puerto Vallarta, where I've also never been, but yes, all the drag queens play there. It's a huge gay
fabulous.
destination.
Oh, you have to go.
Yeah, I want to.
So then you did get more time with Rue beyond that first interview.
Yes. Then we talked by phone after that, and I saw her a few more times after that and talked with her and whatever. So, and even her estate was very generous in giving me, some photos and some stuff. And so, she ended up being one of my best, but it was hard.
In 2013, 2 brutal murders left the city of Davis, California, paralyzed in fear.
The victims were an elderly couple. It was up close and personal.
I'm 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty. I thought I had seen it all until I encountered the mastermind behind those murders.
He's, I think the word is psychotic.
This is 15 Inside the Daniel Marsh Murders. Follow and listen to 15 Inside the Daniel Marsh Murders on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Is there anything that stands out from her interview that like, oh my God, this was such a great story?
2 things. One where she made me laugh, and that was just, and I didn't ask her to do it, but I was praying, of course, if we all would be praying that she would slip into Blanche Devereaux.
Yes.
And at one point, she said like, my many, many men or something in the Blanche voice. And I was like, thank you. I was hoping we'd get that on tape. And the other time was, and it was moving at the end, where I said to her something like, how would you like to be remembered? Which is the last question they ask. And God, what an awkward note to end on.
I'm not
you
dead
spent all
yet.
this time, interviewing this person. You've worn them ragged, and then you're basically hinting you're going to be dead soon.
Totally.
And, but she took the question well, and she said something like, as a mom and as Mark's mom, and I'm so proud, and that's my greatest achievement. And it's like, yes, one could just say that, but she meant it. And after we had just talked about all these great things she did, and I love hearing that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So what about Betty?
Betty was really a scream to interview. So Betty was, at age 84, one of the busiest people I was trying to ever get in.
Right.
Yes.
And this was before her resurgence at age 88 when she had the proposal and the SAG award and all
Hot
that
in
stuff.
Cleveland and all that.
Hot in Cleveland. Like this was before that. And so when I got to LA, I put out my calls to both Bea and Betty, knowing that it would take a while. And I had 3 months, but some of that time could just fly by while I'm waiting for them to do the interview. And Betty's assistant said to me, like I called in February, Betty has an hour, and it was like on May 9th or something like that. And I was leaving on May 15th. Like it was soon after that. And in fact, it was after I did B is when I left. Yeah. So this was like a week before. So I took I'll take the hour. I mean, if that's all I can get. But, normally as an interviewer, you think, okay, they say an hour. I obviously need her for more than an hour. She was one of the stars of the show. But you say, yeah, I'll do an hour, because what most stars do is they have a bad guy who gives them a hard out, so that in case you're a crazy person,
Yes.
they can say, okay, the hour's up, and that's it.
Yep.
But normally the star enjoys what they're talking about and then says, oh, magically they can spend more time with you. So I'm like, okay, hopefully that's going to happen. Betty will just, blow through that hour and we'll be fine. I show up at her door already about 2 minutes late because I was coming from another Golden Girls interview. The writers who wrote the 100th episode of the Golden Girls, who are actually Simon Helberg's parents from Big Bang Theory.
Oh, wow.
And so they wrote the 100th episode of the Golden Girls, which is a whole other story about how they got that gig.
And wait, what was that episode?
It was the one with the switched at birth story.
Oh, the Rose switched at birth?
No, the Dorothy switched at birth story where you thought that the other couple were her real parents.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And they wrote that.
And the daughter's really petite.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that's the 100th. Now that I'm saying it, I'm like, if I'm wrong, will you edit this episode?
Of course. Yeah.
Because, I'm forgetting. I just know that they wrote the 100th, and that's why this story is important. But yes, you look that up for me.
Cheesecakes, it's Patrick from the future cutting in. We looked into this, and of course, Jim was correct. The 100th episode was the switch to birth episode. And, Jim knew that. Like, duh. All right, back to the show.
So I come from interviewing the Helbergs. I had been at lunch with them. I had a great lunch with them. I love them. I had been not keeping track of how much iced tea I had. And by the time I get to Betty's house, and I'm already 2 minutes late, I have to pee more than I've ever had to pee before. And so I go to Betty's door, and normally I'm at this time, it was older equipment. I was schlepping a laptop that I needed to plug in, a recorder I needed to plug in. I needed to make sure it was all working. I didn't want to lose anything. And so that took a few minutes too. And I'm like, I'm already 2 minutes late. And they said she has an hour. What am I going to do?
As like somebody who's done interviews, that is the entire time. Right now, I'm like, none of this is being recorded. I did not press the button.
That's why I asked you.
Well, good.
Totally.
So now I can totally lie and say, yes, that was the 100th episode.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yes, it happened then. And
It's so nerve-wracking as an interviewer, being like, making sure everything is actually working.
Yes, it is. And because you think this is my one shot at this. And if I fuck this up in any possible way, it's on me and I'm never going to get her again. And they're going to think I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
So I have everything with me ready to go. But I ring Betty's doorbell, and both Betty and her assistant, who was another older woman, answered the door. And I said, probably too fast because, again, I had to go to bed so bad. I said, Betty, I am so sorry to do this to you, but I have to go to the bathroom so bad. Can I just... can you just show me where your bathroom is, and then I'll come back and give you a proper greeting? And Betty said, oh, I don't have a bathroom. I'm so nice. I don't urinate. When people come over and they need to use facilities, I send them to the service station down the street. And I'm like, oh my God, she's doing shtick with me, and I'm going to wet my pants. And with that, then she laughs, and she and her assistant say the powder room is right there. But that's like the note that this started on. That Betty knows exactly who she is. She's really fast-witted, and she's going to play with me. I love it.
Oh, it's so good.
And so I sit with her, and we're sitting in her... They tore this house down now in Brentwood, but we're sitting with her in her home that looked like it had not been renovated since the 70s, since like the Mary Tyler Moore era.
Wow.
And so it's like a time capsule. And she has framed photos everywhere and memorabilia and stuff, but it's like the kitchen, as I remember what I could see into the kitchen, was like a butter yellow, and the walls, they were like pine paneled walls, and it was very like 70s country manor.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it. And her golden retriever, Pontiac, comes over and plops down on my feet.
Oh.
And she explains that he had been in seeing eye dog training, but he had flunked out for being too friendly. And so she kept him. And so he's, I'm petting this dog. And as I'm talking to Betty, I'm just like, this is what you think an interview with Betty White is going to be. You're in a butter yellow, sunny, sunlit room. Betty is funny and cheery. You're petting a golden retriever as you're talking. I'm like, this is like being inside Betty's head, being inside Betty's mind. She is so smart that as she's answering questions, she answers everything with a funny quip and a soundbite in the way that nobody else had. That where I'm like, yep, using that, yep. So even though I only had an hour, I'm sitting there thinking, if I only got this hour, I'd still probably get enough.
Yeah.
And
clever.
That's how good she is. And at the end of the hour, which flew by, her assistant came up. I actually looked at my recorder and it said like we'd been talking for an hour and 1 minute or something. Her assistant came up and was like, well, that's all the time Betty has for today. I'm sorry. And I was like, oh my God, Betty's that busy that they really meant an hour. No one usually means that.
Yeah.
But, they were very polite and whatever. And I called Betty maybe a couple weeks later. We talked for another hour. I talked to her another time at Hot in Cleveland things. So we definitely got the time. But that first hour, they were not kidding. Like that's how scheduled she was.
Wow.
As I was packing up, I told you how I had talked to Bea Arthur as I was packing up and kind of bonded with her. I was packing up and I said to Betty something about like, I can't believe how busy you are at 84. I didn't say it quite that bluntly, but I meant you're up there and you're Energizer Bunny. And she said something so telling. She said, well, my mother lived to 88 And so far I'm doing well, and I'm going to take advantage of my health while I have it, but you never know what tomorrow will bring. And I always keep in mind my mother's mortality. And I was just like, wow. Okay, that was,
How old
she got
was
real.
When she died?
She was 99
almost
and
100.
100 minus 17 days.
Oh my Lord.
So, she had quite a bit of time, but who knows?
Yeah.
At that point. So I was like, wow, to talk about getting real. As funny and quippy and witty she was, she also got real like Bea did when I'm packing up. I think it's because, you spend an hour with somebody, I guess they'll let the guard down a little bit.
I love that.
Did Betty tell you anything that we haven't heard about anything that stands out from the Betty interview?
I mean, things that stand out were not things that didn't go into the book. They were things where I was like, wow, I'm glad she's that candid. Like when she talked about the Jenny Lewis episode.
We just covered
did
that
it.
episode today.
Well, good. So you probably said it from the book. So I'm probably repeating. But I was surprised that she admitted that she didn't like Jenny and her mother. And it's not that she didn't like Jenny as a person. She thought that, in the limited amount of time she got to spend with this kid, she was a child actor cliche in that the mother was a little pushy. It was all about the kid. The kid was precocious. She didn't not like Jenny personally. She just didn't like having to work with a kid actor who had to be on,
It's funny because that's what I said my impression of her in the episode was that like, she showed up to the audition with those lines memorized and she'd done it 100 times that morning. She seemed very prepared and like very adult.
And the irony is Betty was like that. Betty was very prepared and memorized everything, but she didn't like it in a little kid.
Uh-huh.
Well, you don't like in someone else
what you don't like in yourself.
yourself.
Exactly. So
I'm just saying.
That could be it. And so I was surprised that as we were talking about that episode, that she admitted to not liking this kid, and that during the week she had taken a dislike to this kid and just wanted the week to be over. And oh God, she's got a mother here and I have to watch what I do in front of the mother. And blah, blah, blah. And so I was surprised when she said to me, and it went this way in the book, something like, so when it came time to shove Daisy out the door in that scene, I probably pushed her a little harder than I needed to. And then she had a devilish laugh. And I was like, oh, I love that story.
Oh,
that's
so
Betty getting
funny.
real in a way that only Betty would tell it that way.
We did a little mini ditty on the little girl, but also in our research that Betty said that was her favorite moment.
Yeah.
In Golden Girls.
Because Betty had a passive-aggressive side to her, And she said, another thing she said, Rose Nyland is like me because we both have Viking tempers. Betty had a passive-aggressive side and didn't like confrontation and didn't like to be outwardly mean. That's why she was always so sweet. But she would harbor resentments. And as she told me, another thing that I thought was so honest that she said to me, and I think it's literally word for word in the book, she said, if you piss me off, I don't know if she said the words piss me off, but if you piss Betty off, she wouldn't confront you in the moment. She said, but I'll bitch all the way home in the car. And I was like, okay, that's pretty honest because that's not flattering to say about yourself.
Yeah.
But she knew that about herself.
Yeah.
And so I think that, if she didn't like Jenny Lewis, she wasn't going to say, I don't like this kid. She wasn't going to say it outwardly to anybody. She wasn't going to make trouble for the kid because she was not that kind of person to get somebody fired.
Yeah.
She would just be mad, I have to work with this kid, and it would seep out in some other way. And so instead of having to bitch all the way home in the car, she just pushed the kid a little harder.
Wow. Savage.
All right. Well, we do have, we took it to the listeners.
All right. Holly asks, I've read that the Queen Mother was a big fan and she had the girls put in a live performance at the London Palladium. So curious if there are any fun facts about this event that you might know of.
Well, yes, and that is all true. The Queen Mum was a big fan. They had heard that. And in fact, they got called to appear in, I guess they call it the Royal Command performance. Mm-hmm. And if you Google those words...
You can see this on YouTube.
You can see it on YouTube. And in fact, I watched it in writing the book. And they cobbled together a couple of different scenes to do. First, they came out kind of as themselves, kind of in character, and then they the curtain rises and there's the kitchen behind them and they go right into a skit. They pulled the bit about looking down in the mirror and seeing your wrinkles or looking better when you're looking back, but then your boobs are under your shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
That thing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. They used that. They pulled that from one episode and then they cobbled it together with something else and kind of made an extended sketch that they performed for the Queen Mum.
Did they have experience with did they get to meet her?
I believe they did. Yes. I think that, you're introduced and you get to curtsy and say a quick hello and everything. And that was a highlight, of course, for them.
It would be so interesting to see how they I'm trying to imagine Estelle Getty greeting the Queen Mum,
Well, luckily Estelle Getty was not Sophia, so she wouldn't have done it the way Sophia would have.
Yeah. Betty White handed her the King George prophylactic in black.
Yes, in black.
All right, so Cindy says, what were you most surprised to learn when researching for the book?
I was not surprised about the Rose and Blanche switching roles thing. I think...
Were you the one that broke that story? Like, did people not know that before you?
No, that I think people knew. I don't think people knew, and because I didn't know before, the part about it being inspired by a joke called Miami Nice.
Oh,
that
right.
It had been a bit of shtick in a teleprompter for an NBC affiliates dinner where Doris Roberts and Selma Diamond pretended to misread the prompter, and when they're talking about Miami Vice, and they said, it's called Miami Nice, and it's about nice Jewish old ladies in Miami, and how that took on a life of its own. I didn't know any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And is that true that that's really like where the idea came from?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that percolated in Brandon Tartikoff's head. He was the head of NBC. When everybody saw, oh my God, this otherwise really deadly dull dinner came to life when these two comedy warhorses, and let's face it, older people were barely on television, and when they were in second banana, third banana, fourth banana roles, like Doris was on Remington Steele, and like Selma was on Night Court. But oh my God, wait, these old warhorses are actually the funniest people in the room. Why are we not building something around them?
Right.
And then Brandon Tartikoff kind of ruminated on that. And there's also stories about how he thought, hey, when I go visit my elderly aunt in Florida, she and her friends are so funny when they bitch at each other. And I've seen How to Marry a Millionaire about 3 women living together, and that's funny. And it kind of just all gelled, where they said, there's something in that. Let's get a writer to write about 4 old ladies.
And was there any actual talk of calling the show Miami Nice?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, it was called Miami Nice like as a working title for a long while until somebody realized we can't have a show called Miami Vice and a show call Miami Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how's that going to confuse people?
And let's not even talk about Miami Lice.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
No. I'm inspired by this question from Stephanie. She said, what should we celebrate about the amazing crew behind the scenes?
That's a great story. I mean, this is probably true of a lot of shows, but they were really like a family in a way that I think that the ladies really appreciated. And it also has to do with the fact that back in the day, and probably it is true still today, but less true, it was all men.
Yeah.
And so Betty liked flirting with men, and Rue liked flirting with men. And these are younger men who revere these women as being really talented. And I'm the straight, not just the gay ones, the straight ones too.
Yeah.
They all can see every day how I'm working with these really talented women who yet are really sweet to me, are a little flirtatious. Terry Hughes, their director, was almost their age, but they flirted with him. So I think that there was just a great relationship where people knew they were doing something special, maybe not as special as for the ages as it's come to be proven to be, but that they were really a close-knit group and that they still get together even today. When I don't know of a lot of sitcom crews where I still hear of them having like little reunions and getting together.
I love the story of the men of Blanche's boudoir, the calendar.
Exactly. That's a perfect
right?
example.
Yeah.
That as a gag, they all decided that rather than this blank-paged prop that we're going to use for the Men of Blanche's boudoir, let's stay up all night and create this obscene calendar of ourselves wearing saddles and leather and all these provocative poses, and men on men and all that stuff, and put that in there and get their reaction. I mean, that's a tight-knit group that is willing to do that.
And now you'd be at HR and
Right.
Oh yes, exactly.
But you can also watch them. The actresses looking through the calendar, like on
That's
YouTube.
also on YouTube.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's really
hilarious.
good. Oh, Kelly wants to know what's your favorite episode and why.
Every time somebody asks me this, my first caveat is that I should say that it's usually the most recent episode I've watched, because in any given episode, even some of the ones that we like the least, there's one bit of business that's classic.
Yeah.
I mean, I still, every few days I go back to Frank, and I've lived with the Temptations. You lived with the Temptations? I mean, only Betty could sell such a stupid line and make it so
what were
funny.
you doing in Ladies Petite? It's so my favorite.
So there's always something that I've just seen that it's like in my head. But if I have to pick one, I always say that the episode Ebb Tide's Revenge, which is season 6, where Phil dies, right? The cross-dressing brother Phil dies. And it's because it's a Golden Girls poo-poo platter of everything they do right. It's topical, it's taboo, it's politically incorrect. It makes all of the jokes you want them to make that are politically incorrect, that we all, let's face it, even if we have complete respect for the LGBTQ plus community, which I do, you still love gay jokes. If you're a gay guy, gay guys love gay jokes.
Yes.
If they're well-intentioned, we love them. And I'm sure that's true of cross-dressers, as they called themselves then, or maybe didn't, or the trans community or whatever. If it's well-intentioned and you're in the group, you love those jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to hear them. So it's got that. And then yet it ends on the trans character being allowed dignity, being treated like a real person, being treated as a person who's being mourned, who it's just been proven was worthy of love. And it ends on a downbeat where Estelle, I tear up every time I talk about it,
Yeah.
where Estelle goes from making you laugh for the first 23 minutes to making you cry for the last 20 seconds.
Yes.
And it ends on a downbeat. That is everything the show does well on a sampler platter.
I wanted to ask you, because we just did our episode about Empty Nest, which is what, like season 2 episode, like the last episode of season 2.
Yeah.
And of course I read all about what you had to say about it in the book, but I just wanted to talk about it a little bit more because I know that it is the lowest
it's
rated.
loathed.
Everyone
Yeah.
hates it. But watching it with a critical eye, I was sort of like, I don't hate this. And there's some characters in it, especially the brother Chuck, who has the multiple personalities, which we don't call that anymore.
Yeah.
Dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah, that I'm like, I would want to know more about that character. Like, I think that would have been a really interesting character to get to know. Like, any other thoughts on it?
I was with you until that. When I watched that episode, I remember why we all don't like it. I remember why I didn't like it. However, there are moments that take place with the girls and in the girls' home that are still fun. It's
Yeah.
almost like if somebody told you, hey, there's a lost 2-minute Golden Girls sketch.
Yeah.
And you'd want to see it and you'd love it. I mean, that's kind of what I treat that as. Like, oh, there's like 3 minutes of the girls in that. It's worth it for those 3 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The rest of it, yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's called Empty Nest. The daughter comes back, or does she? Or Rita Moreno is clear. I mean, she talks about how miserable she was making it. Who cares if Renee is lonely with her daughter going? We don't care about
And
this
also,
person.
we remarked on the fact that they say her name is Renee like 15
Yes,
times.
well,
Yeah.
that's why I remember
You know.
it to this day as I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Just so you know, her name's Renee.
Her name's Renee, everyone, Renee. I hated the character of Chuck, the brother. I thought, oh my
you did?
God, this is so, first of all, so shticky and so sitcom-y, and also it's not going to be treated in any way with any dignity, and it's going to wear out its welcome. If this were to go to series, I don't want to see this guy switching between personalities in every episode. That's going to make me crazy.
I was looking forward to it. I was like, I want to get to know Mr. Fix-It, you know?
My God.
You know who I hated was David Leisure, who's like the only thing that they kept. I
Yes.
hated Oliver.
I didn't like
Oliver.
Oliver either.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chuck is played by Jeffrey Lewis. I was just
Yes.
like, oh God. Yeah, I mean, the problem is none of the characters was anybody you wanted to see again,
Yeah.
including the daughter Jenny. Sorry, Jenny,
no,
the daughter.
samesies, and the husband too.
Yeah,
It's just-
well, we did see him as Isaac Q. Newton
That's
and
true,
whatever,
that's
but
true.
Oh,
and
that
I love
was
Paul
Isaac Q. Newton.
and I love Paul Dooley.
he's a great
Right.
actor.
But not in that.
But yeah.
And I love Rita Moreno, of course,
Yeah.
but not in that. I mean, she was not the problem with the
No.
episode, but
No, I thought she was great.
She was
and,
fine,
Yeah,
but
because I had the same experience Patrick had. When you actually start dissecting it the way we have to, you're like, okay, props to you for that, props to that. But it didn't really help the systemic problem overall.
no, and I almost look at the way she was dressed as being emblematic of the episode. She was all in shoulder pads and beige.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Just everything was beige. Like
I made that note too.
nothing
I was
is going to be remarkable about this character. She's just going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, but there's nothing colorful or fun about. And an actress like Rita Moreno, who's nothing but colorful and fun.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like you've taken all the fun out of this and just made it beige.
I also said to Patrick, I said, if you think of a couple watching this on Saturday night to escape, this is a problem that they talk about the entire episode about, a middle-aged marriage that is a bit stale. That's not really escapism for most
No.
people, nor is it really a serious topic like they do so well on the Golden Girls. It was just sort of, I don't want to watch this.
Nor is it going to be fun to watch every week because if they're
Correct.
just going to be bored with each other every
Right.
week, where's the comedy in that?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the comedy is that they decide to take in a third and go into a throuple.
Right.
I mean, that's how you spice it up, but I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to happen.
No.
Get over here, Oliver.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
I mean, Chuck. I mean, how many personalities
Oh,
does he
no.
have? You
Was-
can have a 10-way just with
That's
the three
her
of them.
brother.
I know.
But was that like a normal thing for sitcoms to be doing like backdoor pilots like that?
Yes, I mean, it was always popular to do backdoor pilots because
Oh.
that was also a way to finance the pilot.
Yeah.
You could air it as an episode of the parent show, and even if it doesn't go, it's still you got an episode of the Golden Girls out of it.
Right.
So it's a way to really make and it's also promotion-wise a smart move because you have a built-in audience watching
Yeah.
it.
Like Laverne and Shirley was introduced on Happy Days.
Right.
Oh,
But-
right.
The
Yeah.
characters.
The characters
The
were.
characters, not the
Yeah.
show.
Not the show,
yeah.
but sometimes a whole
Yeah.
show, like the Brady Bunch did that with that episode where they had the next door neighbors who had their own natural child, but they also adopted they were white, they adopted
Right.
a black kid and an Asian kid.
Yeah.
And they were the Kellys, and like that was a backdoor pilot. The Bradys are only in it for a minute.
And did it go?
No. But they air it as an episode of the Brady Bunch to this day, and it's not only a way to finance the pilot, but it brings the built-in Brady audience to it. Whereas if it aired on its own, it'd have to draw eyeballs on its own.
Right. Yasmin is asking, is there anything you wanted to know and research but couldn't find out?
Not couldn't find out, but would love to have more definitive answers. And one of them is that Lucy attended a taping of The Golden Girls. And the reason was because not only was she friendly with Bea and Betty, so Lucy's mother and Betty's mother were friends, and they had known each other through years of game shows in Hollywood. And of course, Lucy and Bea did MAME together. And so it's funny, as much as people talk about Bea and Betty not liking each other, Lucy was on both teams. Like, she liked them both. And then as Lucy was preparing to do her last sitcom, Life with Lucy, which ended up not going well, Life with Lucy debuted in 1986. So right before that, when The Golden Girls had started, Lucy was like, I need to see how it's being done in the 80s. I haven't done a multicam in 12 years at that point. I think the last Lucy show went off in 74-ish. And so Lucy came to an episode to watch it being taped. And I want to, first of all, I listened to all those episodes in that season. I'm like, I want to hear Lucy's laugh on that laugh.
I want to say, I thought I got it from your book, but maybe I got it from IMDb, that I thought we knew which episode it was.
I've narrowed it down to the point where I think I know, but I wish I had definitive, like somebody saying, I was there and I saw, the one bit of I was there I got is that I remember people on the crew saying, whichever episode it was, because they didn't remember, it was a weird episode because the audience was afraid to laugh without Lucy.
So that's what we made that note too, that the laughter was weird in whatever episode the internet says she was at. And I was like, I wonder if they're waiting for Lucy to laugh.
Everybody would, every time there was a joke, people would turn to her. Was that funny? And she'd laugh and then they'd laugh.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. That is so funny.
I think we've identified it based upon the timing and also when they were in production versus when Life with Lucy started production. But, I want, of course, the Holy Grail is to find a picture of Lucy sitting in the sitcom audience laughing her ass off, or with Bea and Betty on the set or whatever. That's
and you've not seen
no,
one.
I keep looking. I keep looking.
This is from Marshawn. Was there ever any pushback from viewers or the networks on the gay storylines they covered?
Yes. And in fact, Mark Cherry did a podcast just this week where he talked about that they alerted him that he was getting death threats for having written the Sisters of the Bride, the second Clayton episode.
Oh, wow.
So the first Clayton episode with Blanche's gay brother Clayton had been done before Mark was on the show. That introduced him and he came out to Blanche. When Mark Cherry and his writing partner, Jamie Wooten, got hired on The Golden Girls, first of all, they were two out gay writers, which hadn't happened much on the show or didn't happen much after them. There weren't that many gays who wrote on the show. But when they came in, they were also among the first, they were being so young, among the first generations of writers who were hired for The Golden Girls, having been Golden Girls fans previously, because they were coming in, in season 5. And so now you're hiring young kids who were raised on the show. There's a whole new level of meta in that. And there's also a whole new level of knowledge of the show and its backstory. And so Mark and Jamie came in with the thought, one of the things we want to do is pull that thread of the gay brother. Let's bring him back. There's a thread that was left hanging. And so they, got that show on the air. Mark was just saying in a podcast that, the producers called him in and said, okay, we just want to let you know that there have been death threats. And Mark had told me, and it's in the book, that they got all kinds of feedback, mostly positive. As everybody points out, most feedback was positive, but there were MAGA idiots back then who would send misspelled hate mail.
Of course.
And I think I even produced, one of the letters that was to the world's worst facts, and fact is misspelled.
Oh, God.
And then the America the Beautiful stamp on it, which I think is a great irony on the postcard. So there was, in terms of actual non-insane pushback, I'm sure there were people who were a little more clever in how they worded a letter that didn't go into the FBI file. But there was some.
Oh, well, Jim Colucci, we love you so much. We have a million more questions from our listeners. We will save them for next time.
Love it.
Thank you for being here. I don't know what else to say, Mother.
We were so looking forward to this today.
Me too.
It's just you truly are such an extraordinary person, and we were pinching ourselves earlier. It's we get him a second time.
Oh my God! I'm looking at the two of you who are so extraordinary, and this one, the Broadway diva who can do this and then go kill him every night.
She's going to do her show tonight.
I know.
I am, but anytime you want to sit in that chair, please do, because we really value you so much, and so do
I'm happy to.
So do our listeners.
We love you, Jim Colucci.
Love you right back.
All right, bye. Cheesies, thank you so much for checking out our interview with the amazing Jim Colucci. Go grab a copy of Golden Girls Forever wherever you get your books. He is so amazing. The book is so incredible. It tells you every single behind-the-scenes factoid that is in existence about the Golden Girls. Mother and I love you so much. Thank you for being a friend by telling a friend about our show. And I can say that because Mother's not sitting next to me rolling her eyes. Don't forget to join the Facebook group. It's the Golden Girls Deep Dive Podcast Discussion Group. We've got over 6,000 people in there making friends, sharing Golden Girls memes, talking about the episodes. It is so much fun. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. It's at Golden Girls Deep Dive, but only if you want to see really, really fun, funny moments from our episodes. That's it, Cheesecakes. We love you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye.